Well, welcome everybody to the launch of the Parallel Lives network. Absolutely delighted to see you all. And thank you for taking the time as well. Like I said, we've got people from different locations around the world, which we'll name check, obviously, at various times, which would be great. What I really wanted to do was just give a bit of background, really, as to why we're at the point now of being able to launch the Parallel Lives network. Obviously, I've been very interested, for those of you that have known me for a long time, in the world, countries, people, and that really started right back from when I was younger, and has carried all the way through to the opportunity to do something like Citizens Eye in 2008 for the 7 years that I ran that. And we were able to do things like, doc film festivals, show documentary festivals from around the world. That's actually the first time that we'd made connection with Bazlur Rahman in Bangladesh as well, from the Bangladesh NGOs Network for Radio and Communication. I think that was a link through Rob, actually, at that time when we did something at BBC Radio Leicester. So, this has kind of been bubbling away for quite a while. And then when we started doing pop-up documentary media centres, there was an opportunity to connect with different organisations around the world, people that were doing good things. You often hear me say good practice. It's not about best practice, it's good practice. And that really led us to think about how we could then use this space, when we were lucky to get this space here in Northampton Street in Leicester, to start reaching out and doing things. And as with most people, 18 months ago, we had, after 6 months of being here, a really good plan for lots of events, lots of things that we were going to do. Jurien had a very full diary of things that we were going to film, reportage clubs, and COVID hit. And so we really had to rethink how we were going to move forward. And as with all of these things, as tragic and as devastating as they are for people around the world in different ways that we've all been affected, the opportunity came up to use things like technology. So here we are, all connected with Zoom, and this is our millionth Zoom call, I'm sure, over the last 18 months, to the point of, well, there's nothing new about it now. It's a way of connecting with people. Suddenly we've gone from the need to have people to attend events to the fact that we can reach out and do things with people all around the world. So that led us really to have those lockdown newsrooms, from the very first 24-hour newsroom that June and I hosted around sort of conflict reportage. That really got us thinking about, well, actually, this is a pretty good model, not just for people that were interested in that particular kind of opportunity with conflict media and education, but how could we use that as a way of bringing together people to be able to share their news and stories and events, that what they were doing on a particular time. And so we tried two different events. One was World Photography Day last year, the 19th of August in 2020, where for 24 hours, from midnight to midnight this time, we went from Southeast Asia. We spoke to Pat in Thailand. We had people in Cambodia, we had people in Indonesia, and we literally followed the sun all the way through and finished in Peru, I think, on the evening time. And that was really interesting to do it for 24 hours. But of course, what you realize is then when I did the 10-day one in February as well, and Rob and I was lucky to support Rob with World Radio Day as part of that as well, you suddenly realize that you've got this opportunity to do things with people, but you were calling people to participate in something that you were doing, rather than were you helping them when they needed help? Okay, and that really got us thinking, Tina and I here at the Dot Media Centre, about, well, actually, was there an opportunity to create a network that we could formalize, as in through a website, a nucleus point where people could come together to share information, what was going on, and opportunities for them to do things and find out information that was important to them. And that's really where we are today with the Parallel Lives network website that we're launching. That's actually live, a work in progress, if you like. And so what I'd like to do is just take you through a few elements of the website and expand on them in a bit more detail, because those of us that are here today, the reason that you're here today is not because it's a public event that's been publicized for lots of people to find out about, but it's because you've been invited to participate as an organization or as a network associate. And I guess that makes us all ambassadors for the network as to what it is, what it's for, and who it could support. Okay, so I'm just going to run through a few sections for you now. So let me share the screen. And you'll notice Panos is front and center there on the top. He paid me a lot of money to get that prime position on the homepage of the website. So, that was a fantastic opportunity, because that's going to be the first event that we're going to be doing. So I'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so it's quite simple as it stands. We've got the about section, obviously news, and get in touch. And the news is listing there everything that goes onto the blog posts. So let's start with the about section, and I think this is the thing that's really key. You know, it is a membership network. Yeah, anybody can be a member. I'm happy for anybody to be a member. It's just that you have to fulfill some criteria. Okay, the first is probably that you're interested. Okay, it's not a membership thing that will get you up the greasy pole ladder of academia. You'll get absolutely nothing out of joining when it comes to your continuous professional development. It will be something that you will participate in because there's something of interest to you, and you can take something out of it, but we'll be looking for you to participate in the network as well. Okay, so the membership is of active NGOs, and I'd say that they tend to be smaller NGOs, those that aren't part of big networks, those that aren't, you know, don't have big NGOs back in the UK, back in the US, that are kind of helping them and doing their marketing and PR. And I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Charities and community groups, individuals, and that can be educational based organizations as well, that are at the grassroots, working in maybe low resource settings with vulnerable people in Latin America. So that's literally Mexico all the way down to the tip of South America, the whole of Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. And we've got probably about 100 countries plus covered in the Parallel Lives network as we go forward. Okay. Something to note, someone from America or from Canada or from any of the countries in Europe or in the UK or China, Australia, New Zealand, of course they can join the network. But really this is about, if you want to know about China's Belt and Road project, the positives and the negatives, you're better off following the countries that it's doing Belt and Road with and to, rather than just focusing on China. So rather than trying to do everywhere, we thought it would be better to focus on those 100 plus countries that make up the majority world, the global south, whatever you want to describe that as. Okay. And really the main aim is to have this greater voice, to help people to have a greater voice, share good practice. I said I'd mention that again. It's not about best practice, okay? It's about sharing good practice, things that are working well, things that you could pick up yourself and do where you were with your own cultural spin on it, your own, you know, taking into account your own cultural nuances of where you are. It's good practice, you know, good ways of doing things, yeah? And really opportunities to come together and highlight and celebrate the impact that people are having. And I guess it is a bit of a sort of an anti-mainstream media kind of network as well, I guess, which is very much focused on the negatives, pointing out all the reasons why we shouldn't be getting on. And this is more about showing the reason why we should be collaborating with people in different places. Okay. So there's two types of membership. Obviously, there's the organizations. Now, organizations that are based in the UK or any of those countries that I mentioned are able to become a member because they're supporting organizations that are on the ground. Okay, so I was talking to an organization recently that's based here in the UK, and they support a project in 2 African countries. One's quite developed, as in it's been going for many years, and the other one they're just trying to get off the ground, and they've got a member of staff. The key moment in the conversation with them about membership was, of course, they could be a member. They were here in the UK. They supported what we wanted to do with international development. But what they were looking for, could they get from the network, was someone who could go for the next 2 weeks and take photographs and make films of those 2 projects so they could come back and do their annual report. Okay, so that's not the kind of membership that we're looking for. Okay, what we're looking for is the kind of membership where they're looking to build the capacity of the organisation that's working on the ground. So they're able to shape and own their own narrative, share their own news through the network, and also through anybody that's supporting them, like a UK NGO. Okay, so that's a really interesting one for me, that, you know, people are going to have been getting in touch, and it's really being very honest about it, whether they're best to be the organisational member or actually go directly to their organisations that are working on the ground. And then the second one, I guess, and the most important one, and I know some of you guys are on today that are supporting the network's launch, is this kind of network associate, you know, where you're an industry practitioner in your own right, you know, whether that's media related, it might be in the international development field, it might be working here in the charity sector, or a language instructor. Yeah. You're then talking about people that are issue experts, that have experience of that particular social issue, maybe here in the UK, that we're looking to support in a country overseas. Researchers, obviously, and volunteers, and that can be students, that can be ordinary members of the public that are just engaged, they're interested in that subject area. And what we're looking for you to do really is provide that information, advice and guidance to support the members of the network that might be looking to build their capacity, not just through someone like myself talking to them, or Rob doing some audio training for them to set up a podcast, but actually website development, giving them some advice about how you use Facebook or Facebook pages for your own particular organisation. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we're all back seeing each other again. So that's really about the website and the types of membership that we're after: organisational members and network members. All free. All membership is free. I certainly see the membership being free on a continuous basis going forward, because then that literally is, there are no barriers to entry beyond people being interested in participating. So we've got some key things that you get out of being a member, as an organisational member or a network associate. Okay, the first one, and this was a way of, I guess, bringing the news section to life a little bit. And this is the experiences that we've had, you know, ranging from the things that Rob and I have done from World Radio Day and another criminal justice related event that Rob led on, was this opportunity to speak to people around the world for a period of time, whether that's a case of, you know, finding out what they do, posting it on our YouTube channel, but then having an opportunity to sit and have a conversation with two people that then reviewed 2 or 3 of these bigger interviews into a smaller briefing. Okay, so we've decided to come up with the name briefings. The briefings will be 25 minutes for those of you. Yeah, so that's kind of podcast length, if you like, to be able to find out what's going on in the network. You know, so that will be a monthly thing that we will record here. Reach out, I'll speak to various network members on different months, and we'll look to wrap up the news of the network that month. Okay, so that will be the briefings. They'll be hosted on YouTube, and they'll cover things like legislation, governance, fundraising, any of the issues that are coming out of the network during conversations that we're having. Okay, so that's the briefings, the 25-minute one. Then, rather than having training, we spoke about this quite a bit. You know, should we have training opportunities and stuff? Yes, but not in the traditional sense. Not someone at the front or running the Zoom call, talking to someone where people are taking notes. It needed to be something where it was learning rather than training. And what we're going to do is trial something where we're going to have, again, sort of briefing length type sessions, so 25 minutes, where we're talking to people about their good practice, and they're sharing their knowledge, they're sharing their good practice. And again, I'll be on YouTube, and we'll look to develop a learning and knowledge exchange. Now, what we're looking to the membership for as well is for network associates, but also organisations themselves to record some of these if they wish to, or we can host it on Zoom or Skype, to be able to capture some of that stuff and start to build up information that can be useful to people when they're in a particular situation. Is there anything in the learning and knowledge exchange about that I can find? If there isn't, then obviously they will tell us and we will go off and find that information. So they're the 2 key things really that we're looking to do with briefings and learning opportunities. Now, the owning of our own narrative, I guess, is where the news section really comes in. And with the website, there's a news section, and that will be very much around any of the organizations being able to share with people, good news, celebrations, things that are happening, events that they're involved in, and also looking for support with things. Now that might be fundraising, that might be looking for crowdfunding, and we'll be sharing that through the social media channels as well. So, you'll notice on the website, there's a big heart shape. If you hover over that with your mouse, you'll find that there are social media channels there as well. So we've got Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook page has been set up. We'll be developing things like hopefully MailChimp newsletters and publications as we go on, but we wanted to start with the ones that most people would be able to access everywhere they were. And surprisingly, that is still Facebook. Okay, the amount of people that use Facebook pages and groups to communicate both with their service users and the outside world is amazing. So Mr. Zuckerberg is owning that space very well. The next one, number 4, is we're going to be talking about events. Okay, now one of the reasons, and we came up with the network idea, and what we did before was with the 2 big events that we ran, the 10-day Parallel Live news program earlier in February, as I said with Rob, when we had World Radio Day, but also the 24-hour newsroom last August, is that we'll look to focus on particular days, maybe not always the ones that are really obvious. I think World Radio Day, World Television Day, and maybe World Press Freedom Day, World Photography Day, they're obvious ones. We'll do something that invites the members to participate, but also to look to support members after that with their own. So for example, Pat might have something that's very specific to where he is in Thailand. How can we as a network support what he's doing there? Cletus in Nigeria, he might turn around and say, well, we've got something specific that we could do for West Africa or specifically to Nigeria. How could network members support that? Okay, so this World Photography Day on the 19th of August, in a couple of weeks' time, will be exactly a year since our first 24-hour newsroom. And we're supporting WACIT, World Awareness for Children in Trauma, and Panos is joining us today. And we're working with the 4 top organisations as part of WACIT's network as a way of getting them to revisit the content that they've got and just look to their service users to create content on that day. Okay, not necessarily because it's World Photography Day, it just happens to be a reason to get everyone together. But then to be able to look at how we support the guys in Brazil after World Photography Day, how we support the guys in Kenya and South Africa afterwards, and also the fantastic team that's there in Pakistan afterwards. Some of it might be website development, some of it might be media hub training opportunities, or setting up a media hub for their new youth projects in South Africa. Whatever it is, the idea is the events will allow us to be able to do that. Then we've got a resources section, and I guess it's a bit like developing the learning section, the learning and knowledge exchange, really, where things like the community media archive that we've got here and the social movement archive, the conflict memory and education archive, and also the Women's Research Centre that we host here, using those as the catalyst to add to from within the network so that we're able to exchange information between network members as and when they need those resources. Okay? And I guess one of the most important things in all of this, and it is all important, but I guess this is more important, is the actual people that are involved, particularly the network associates, because for organisational members joining as a small NGO on the ground in Uganda, for example, there's certain things that they will want, you know what I mean? And it's surprising. Yes, money is amazing and money is a game changer, but money isn't always the answer when it comes to being able to communicate better and be more effective and tell people maybe that your organisation exists, particularly if you're quite small. So the network associates that you guys could also recruit as well, recommend, we'll be doing it to students, obviously, people that we know, associates that we have, a local organisation that Rob and I know here in Leicester, Leicestershire Cares. Their CEO, Kieran, is a former international development worker in various roles. Well, he signed his organisation up so their young people in care, for example, get opportunities to participate in projects and support network members around the world. And I think that's only to be encouraged. And also with the Doc Folio programme, which we run here anyway at the Doc Media Centre, we've got student opportunities or opportunities for young people or members of the public that are keen to work in a particular way. And we've got live briefs at the moment with the Uganda 50 project, which is based here in Leicester, and I see Rupal's on the call, which is that 50th anniversary in October 2022 of Ugandan Asians being expelled from Uganda and arriving here in Leicester. So that's a kind of a local focus, but we've got relationships with people back in Uganda that we'll be working on. And also in Kenya, we're looking to support a network member out there, Joel, with the development of Nairobi Beyond, which is a new international photography festival. So there's lots of things that people can participate in and get involved in. And I'm particularly excited to see how the network develops when it comes to the members that are involved. Okay? Now, four final things that I want to mention. There's a key elements, I guess, to the network, and this is trying to develop hub opportunities. This is really moving beyond the network being a website into being a physical presence in certain locations around the world that can then act as a catalyst within particular regions, okay? And obviously the first one I want to mention is Cletus. Cletus is here. It's great to see Cletus on the call. And we've set up the Doc Hub in West Africa. We've got a website in development at the moment. And Cletus, as a member, has actually kindly allowed us to use his office. So we now have an office location for the Doc Hub West Africa. We're pulling together various people through Cletus's professional network when it comes to those that work in the media, both in Lagos and in Abuja, those that maybe have access to equipment, those at the university that are training media students. And obviously Cletus is a documentary filmmaker himself as a documentarian. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at is supporting people across West Africa. So we've got a Mali documentary that's been done already by a network member. We've got a young lady that's here at the University of Leicester, bizarrely, going home to Nigeria after doing her master's, who's looking to develop her own documentary. But one of the first things we're going to do is the pre-production of Cletus's documentary about climate change called We Can Save Us, about the impact on the climate, but also land use on farmers there. So we've started the process behind a sort of crowdfunding campaign. And that's going to be one of the things that the network will be able to do as well, not just fundraising, but also support crowdfunding opportunities and stuff. So keep your eye out for that, because that's going to be really good to have our own documentary in development. So I'm delighted about that. The second one is in Iraq. We've now signed a memorandum of understanding, and I deliver the first session next Thursday to the media training center in Iraq in Diwania, which is south of Baghdad. And it's a specific facility that's been set up for us, 25-seater media training facility with computers. At Diwania Radio is hosting it. And we've signed the documentation with the government there, the local government, the Diwania Governorate. And we're going to be training particularly women, focused with women getting into the media, having the voice. There's been a real post-2003 invasion development in protest, people going out and protesting on the streets. So we're going to be looking at working there. We've got various research projects going on with the local university. So I'm really excited about seeing how that hub, as well as the Doc Hub in West Africa, develops and moves forward. The third one is in Bangladesh, again, working with Baslu, who I mentioned earlier. They've got a 4-month fellowship there across their 18 community radio stations, where we're going to be supporting, as the network, the 30-odd women that they've recruited, 2 per radio station, I believe, for their 4-month fellowship. So we'll be talking there, and there'll be opportunities, and I'll be putting out information across the network for people to participate in that and join in. We're also hoping that that will develop into another opportunity that we've got in Djibouti at the moment. Some radio equipment's on its way to there, and we've been asked to put together a training program that specifically focuses on women. And you'll find that that's going to be one of the key things that we have across the network, I think, is the opportunity to support women's voices, and particularly women getting into media roles and being able to campaign and do things like that. And finally, with Pat, good to see, like I said, good to see Pat here with Ken University, that Rob and I visited a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 years. And we were absolutely astounded to see that he'd managed to get himself a cinema open on his campus to support his annual film festival. And so we've kind of reached out to Pat now, and we're looking to have space allocated for a documentary media centre, which will allow us to work with students, participate in the annual festival at the cinema by collecting documentary films and documentary media content from across the network. So from Latin America right through to Southeast Asia, suddenly the opportunities to show content made by participants and or students from Iraq or Nigeria or Kenya to be able to share that at other people's festivals, I think is going to be one of the key things of the network, which is amazing. I remember the look on my face, because I've actually caught it on a photo when Pat was showing us this very warm room. I remember this very hot and stuffy room full of film archives and cartridges where they'd been pulling together in Konken all the regional footage and stuff, old films, you know, and there it was, an opportunity for us to sharpen our archive skills and work in partnership with Pat's educational organisation to be able to go after some funding to start doing things like that. And I just think these are the kind of relationships and the kind of opportunities that will really make the network an exciting thing to either participate in as an organisation, but also to participate in as a network associate. So I hope that all sounds of interest and information. Please have a look at the website. All feedback is warmly welcome. If there's a specific role that you think, actually, I'd like to do that, I've got a bit of time, or I think these are the kind of things that I'd like to do. If you've not sent in your membership form yet, feel free to put anything on there that you'd like to contribute to the network. I think it will be a sum of its parts. What is success? I guess we're sitting here having this conversation now, daring to dream that we could make a difference to ourselves and the people that we can support. I'm delighted that we're not just sitting here going, we're going to go and help people over there, because actually I've had quite a lot of emails this week of people's membership details. I think we've hit the ground with 16 organisations already, small organisations that are working on the ground. And I think we're up to about 30 network associate members and stuff. So success is we are here, and it will continue to grow, and we'll just do things that are of interest to people, I guess. Thank you for participating.